The development of two new rockets for the Air Force, the Delta IV and Atlas V, have become operational and could be man-rated for future missions. What does space exploration mean for you? Well, space exploration has brought us satellite radio, pacemakers, GPS navigation, weather radar, faster and cheaper computers, HD television, MP3 players, iPhones, and even the internet. It's made us more aware of our planet Earth and concerns such as global warming, fires, shortages of food and water. Maybe most importantly, space exploration excites people just like you. It inspires us to dream, study, and reach out to become a part of something bigger than ourselves. The next space pioneers are in our schools and factories now, already making a difference in our lives. They're preparing to return to the moon and beyond. What we do next will define our generation's legacy not only for our world, but also for future worlds, wherever space travel leads us. Now is the time to find your place in this bold, new adventure. Houston, we are go for launch.
Joining us now from Cape Canaveral is Dr. Al Koller, Director of the National Science Foundation's Aerospace Resource Center at Brevard Community College. It's a pleasure and honor to have you with us today.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So we just saw this commemoration of the first landing on the moon more than 40 years ago. You were right there on the launch team for Apollo 11. What do you remember most about that?
Well, it was a dream job. It was pure magic. Every day was fun. I don't think it mattered very much what you did. It was a time that was really special for everybody involved in the program, and entire country got involved. In fact, the whole world got involved by the time we got to the moon, and it was a time that just was magic. And it didn't matter how big or how small your job was, you knew that you were part of something very important. It had never been done before. There were a lot of activities that went on that no one knew exactly what the outcomes would be, and as we moved along, we got more and more confident, and it was just a real special time.
What an exciting time in history that was. This great country was always in the forefront of space exploration and technology in general. What do you feel about the changing priorities of our current program, and what will it mean?
Well, I have mixed emotions, and I think a lot of us who have been in the program for any length of time have mixed emotions. It's a little bit hard to understand today what it will mean. It depends on how we go. I think commercial space, its time has come, but I don't think commercial can do it alone. And one of the issues is how we choose to mix the commercial space activities with the current activities of the government. And I think some of the options that we are looking at choose one over the other, and frankly, I think that would be a big mistake for us to make. It's true that we have better technology today than we had 40 years ago when we went to the moon. The people are great, but the past is important, and I think we risk losing some of the lessons learned and maybe repeating some of that if we're not really careful. So the choices that I think are best are the ones that combine the best of both worlds, the commercial side as well as the government side, and frankly, I think we're good enough to do both. The program of the future needs to take the best of both and combine those to make a very strong U.S. space program that's the best in the world.
This is a real concern shared by very many people. How will our space program change for the average American, and what's going to happen to all our space workers?
Well, it's certainly going to change. I think one of the issues is that we don't appreciate our space benefits in this country. It's difficult because we take so very much for granted. We're surrounded by technology, and a tremendous amount of that was derived from our space program from the very earliest days. Everything from, iPods and iPhones and GPS technology. We don't know so much about the medical technology or even the wristwatches we wear on our arms, for those who still wear wristwatches. We don't appreciate those benefits, and if we're not careful, we will lose the lead in the space activity and step back in technology across the whole spectrum. And that's one of the fears that I have. From the worker's standpoint, there's about to be a very big impact on the workforce, not only here in Florida, but all across the country, as the civil space program steps back from space exploration, a giant step. The commercial side is on the rise, but the commercial side is profit-oriented, bottom-line companies, and they will skinny down their workforce, and they will not replace the government projects that have been in place for a long time. And I think that would be a big mistake, because the workers who leave those space program activities won't find work in similar technologies that use their talents and skills. So the risk to us is losing a tremendous experience base that I think will be impossible to replace for the future. I think there are ways to avoid that. One way is to maintain a program that runs both the civil and the commercial, as well as the military space program simultaneously, and I think we're good enough to do that. You know, we have a very specialized workforce in the space activities in this country. They're very, very talented, and the things they do are different from what others do. And if we lose our talented space workforce, we will be diminished as a nation, and none of us wants that.
Many people find that very difficult to understand or accept. What do you think is the most important thing to keep in mind as we experience a new era in space?
Well, you know, Apollo made us realize that we're all in this together. That may sound a little Pollyannish to some, but during the Apollo program, we really were all part of going to the moon together. And we made it a point, as part of our national space program, to invite the rest of the world along for the trip. In fact, when the plaque was placed on the moon, if you remember, it said, "We come in peace for all mankind." And that was the temper and the focus of the Apollo program. And its great beauty and its great strength was in its organizational skills in bringing people together across the whole free world. We're a part of something bigger than ourselves in the space program. Today, that's no different than it was 40 years ago. If you're a part of the space program at any level, and by the way, every citizen in this country is a part of the space program, or should be, and could be, then you are a part of something bigger than yourselves. And I think when you understand that, you become a player in the very real game of life. Space exploration is about leaving this Earth for a permanent colony somewhere else forever. As we go back to the moon, we will take with us people who work as technicians, doctors, people who prepare food. The whole gamut will have to be served just like it is here on Earth. And someday, some of our technicians will serve on those flights and eventually permanent colonies. And from my perspective, when man leaves Earth permanently for the first time, that's when we'll have the real success of our space program. It's about where humankind is headed for the future. We have a legacy that we can build on, and we have a role to play. And I hope that the people who watch this program will find for themselves a role in the future of our space program and support it to the fullest, because I think that is man's destiny.
Well, all we can do is hope for the very best for this great country. I want to thank you for being with us today.
Well, it was my great pleasure. I look forward to the next steps in our space program, and I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be right back. This concludes our special program honoring our country's space pioneers. Thank you for being with us.